The one song you'll never get away from is Sailor Town.
Of course, yes. How could I forget?
I remember the first time I heard it, like many people, it was our good friend Jerry Anderson who played it on his radio show. And I mean, that's how the song took off for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry was so helpful and so encouraging, and he'd such a huge audience that when he featured you at all, either playing the record or having you in on those Friday morning live sessions, you could just see the needle starting to turn. You know, it really made a huge difference. And for me, that one song, to this day, I'd still put it all back to that one song and that one broadcaster, because his championing of that song kind of, people then started to say, would you come and play at our festival? Would you open for so-and-so? And I began to get work. And since then, the last 11 or 12 years for me, really, I've been trying to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, you've got the guitar there.
I apparently do, yes.
And I hope if I say, can I have a request, please? Will you do Sailor Town? Since we've spoken about it, you're going to say yes.
I'd be delighted to.
Thank you.
Me and Elaine, we've been hanging around in what was once Sailor Town, drinking cheap red wine by the light of the Belfast moon. There's nobody left here that works at the docks. It's all urban renewal and apartment blocks. Summer is fading, winter will be coming soon. The walls in the city have a lot to say about the UVF and the IRA. It's cold by the river, but the sky is full of stars. But these walls say nothing about who I am when I'm singing in the garden at the Rotterdam, doing Brown Eyed Girl and whiskey in the jar. And I know they're tearing it down street by street. Look out below, there goes the ground beneath your feet. Elaine's mother thinks I'm some kind of crook. She meets me at the door with a dirty look. My welcome round there started to wear thin, 'cause I promised everybody I would not go down, but my grades weren't good enough this time round. All my time runs out in the end. And I know they're tearing it down street by street. Look out below, there goes the ground beneath your feet. I can't wait to be rid of school, but Elaine's got a place at Liverpool. By the time September comes, she'll be gone. And she says she'll text me every day, but that's something she feels she has to say. She'll call me once at Christmas, then move on. Me and Elaine, we've been hanging around in what was once Sailor Town.
So do you know what I'm dying to know? Whatever happened to Elaine?
Oh, Elaine. Well, the hard truth is that it's almost entirely fictional.
Wow, really?
Well, there were, I wrote the song after doing a gig with the Ronnie Greer Blues Band, a very early gig with them in the Rotterdam. And it was late summer, and I remember looking out from the Rotterdam onto the Clarendon dock, and there were loads of kids outside with little Spanish guitars and bottles of wine and everything. And I remember thinking, it's that time of year when they're all going to be going their separate ways. You know, some of them are going to go to university, some of them are going back to repeat A levels or do A levels, and some of them are going to go out into the world of work. And that sense of young people at that age about to kind of, you know, they're all going to split. So that was the kind of the sense of the song. And there were other things that were in my head, the Rotterdam especially, the kind of the history around that whole area. And there's a wonderful poet from Sailortown called John Campbell,
who I think I met once, because Jerry used to read his poems out on the radio all the time.
They really lend themselves to being read aloud. And he had a collection that Blackstaff put out years ago called Saturday Night in York Street. And I'd always loved them. And they were kind of in my head around that whole time as well. So the whole thing kind of, it all became part of where the song came from. But there's no specific Elaine, unfortunately.
Tell us about the Lottery of Strangers. What's that about?
Yeah, it's about winning the lottery. There's an Italian character in it who he has got the winning notes, but he can't find his ticket, and he thinks his housemate has done a deal with some refuse collectors to gain the money. So there you are. So it's about living in one of those rented houses and huge distrust between the housemates.
Oh, wow, okay.
But yeah.
Let's choose another one. What else have we got on that? We talked about the Brit Babes one, the Spice Girls. Were you a Spice Girl fan, by the way, back in the day?
Not at all, but I was a fan of their money. I think, yeah, but they were like, they appealed to 6-year-olds, really. It was a very young demographic.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, the sad thing is, because I was just starting on the radio on that year, 25 years ago, so of course the Spice Girls were the biggest thing, so that's all we talked about back then. I have to say, I was a fan.
I did like Wannabe. I mean, it was
Wannabe
sort
was
of
great,
fun,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just a bit of fun, and that's what you want with a girl band.
Yeah, but who were you listening to then, back in '96? Then
96.
You into the Britpop stuff, were you?
Oh yeah, well I did like Blur.
Yeah.
Much more. I didn't like Oasis. You know, you had to be one or the other. You weren't. It was like Man U and Liverpool. You couldn't be both.
No, I was into both of them, but then Pulp came along, and Jarvis and Pulp.
Oh yes, he was
took
great.
Over. He was great, wasn't he?
Yeah, I loved him.
There were others, I'm sure. Right, what else are we going to talk about? Let's talk about the night they shot the journalist.
It's kind of about dissidents. Yeah, about an ex-IRA man who's trying to persuade young dissidents out of violence.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do some like very hardcore political ones, him with the Spice Girls, so always keep people guessing.
Let's do one more then. Let's talk about the Irish Australian.
That's where the character's a trad musician and goes to Australia. I did a kind of writing, went with a play actually with May the Road Rise Up. I went with Stephen Kelly of C21, and we went to Australia, and it was all about, we were at a music festival. Our play was part of a musical festival, so it was sort of wonderful to kind of be totally out of the theatre and in a different genre. So it's really about that sort of wonderful experience.
Wow, okay, sounds great. The book is out now, it's called Marching Season. Where can we get it from?
Book Depository and Arlen House website, and all good bookshops.
Good to see you, Rosemary. As always, good to see you as well. Thank you for coming in.
You too, Robin. Thanks a lot.
Good to have you, and Frank, I can't believe the amount of years I've been doing this show and the amount of years that I've known you, but we've never had you on the show.
No, I haven't been in this studio before. I've been in plenty of studios down through the years. This is very impressive, and it's a very, I suppose, in line for awards your show in the future if it hasn't already picked up the accolades that it deserves. What about that for a compliment coming through the door?
Fabulous compliment, thank you so much. And of course, I did read something you wrote recently in the Belfast Telegraph as well, which was very complimentary, so thank you for that too.
It's a pleasure. I caught some of the programmes that are being shown on NVTV recently, and I saw them down through the years as well, and they're very engaging, so it's a pleasure to be here.
So you must have seen lots of changes in telly from the days when you first started at UTV.
It is incredible. It's absolutely amazing. I remember coming through the door and people like Brian Bird being there and being in awe of such a skilled newsreader. Norman Stockton, you know, one of the great reporters. So I've been there for, well, long and many's a day. As a matter of fact, I left television exactly a year ago on the 34th anniversary of joining UTV. So I was there for 34 years, and there are some people like Paul Clark is still there.
Yeah.
He was there when it opened, and he'll be there when they shut it, if they ever do shut it. Paul is going to be broadcasting the news on his 70th birthday. That's his promise. Now, he's quite a distance away from it, but it's something that he is looking forward to.
Do you miss being on telly? Because we missed you doing the weather every night.
I miss it, yes. I couldn't have managed to keep up the pace much longer. I'm working every day from 8 in the morning with U105 through until noon, arrive at 8, do the programme 9 to 12, then straight up the stairs to prepare the weather, to liaise with the weather forecasters at the Met Office. People sometimes think you just do the weather at 6:30 and at 10:30, but there are actually 7 other weather forecasts during the day as well. So you're preparing all that, you're getting all that ready, you're constantly in and out of the studio, and you're home in the evening at about 7:15, absolutely knackered. And that's why when the opportunity came to, to leave with a little cushion that will see me through my twilight years, I had to take it.
Okay, my next guest has around 15.5 million followers on his social media. He's also got this brand new book out as well called Make Your Own Magic. It's a magician, Joel M. How are you?
Hi, I'm terrific. Thank you for asking.
Tell us about your career so far, because for a while there wasn't too many people doing magic, and then suddenly you come along and it explodes on social media. As I said, over 15 million people are following you. That's crazy numbers.
It is crazy, and I try not to think about it because you can't wrap your head around it really. It's still just fun to me, honestly, and I've done it for so many years not putting it online that it just felt like the natural step. Really, it happened by accident because I only started posting really during the pandemic because I had so much free time. Suddenly all these live shows went away and I thought, well, here, better do something. So I started posting online and it just slowly, bit by bit, grew and grew and grew, and then you wake up and you have this audience and I'm grateful for it, It's fun because it's what I wanted to do since I was a kid. I just didn't expect to be doing it on social media because that wasn't a thing when I was a kid.
So where did the love for magic start then?
I was really young, 5 or 6 years old, and my grandfather, my papa, loved magic but never performed, so we were summertime, summer holiday, we were in America, and there's a shop which is now shut down, which is really sad, but in downtown Disney called Magic Masters. The pair of us went in, he was a big fan of Paul Daniels, so caught his eye, went in, and there was a magician doing magic tricks and then selling the secret, and I must have been interested and asked for some tricks to be bought because I remember going home with 2 magic tricks. And that was it, down the rabbit hole. It was so much of my life that I remember when I was a kid, I used to think, what do people do in their spare time if they're not doing this magic thing? I just couldn't understand what people filled their days with. So it's been my whole life and I've loved it. I love it more now than I did back then, which is really fun.
Okay, I see a deck of cards on the table there. Yes. Shall we do a trick then?
Yeah, why not? I'd be ashamed to have a magician in and not do one trick, so we'll give it a go. I mean, the thing is people are so often, they see me online, people do wonder, well, can you do it in real life? So we're about to find out. Okay. I know you saw me do this maybe at an event last week in person, so it's hopefully not too much of a shock. But with freezing cold hands in the middle of winter in Northern Ireland, let's see if I can make the sleight of hand work, shall we? We'll see if we can. Do you like that?
That's impressive.
Practice that just for you. Just for you. Can I grab the table closer to me? Is that okay?
Yes, yeah.
We'll do this. Now, here's what we'll do. Before we start this, I'm going to have you actually look, and I suppose I'll show the camera here as well, that this is what we would call in the business a normal deck of cards. I don't know what a non-normal deck looks like, but just for the sake of the people watching, we got 52 cards, and you can see each card is different. Your job is to pick one, and it doesn't matter if I see the card.
Okay.
So we'll do it kind of socially distanced, is the way I like to say it. I'll deal the cards down like this. If you tell me to stop, in fact, they might fall off the box. So we'll do it like this. Tell me to stop wherever you like.
Stop.
You're right here. Are you sure?
Right there. That's the one.
See this? Ooh. It's a bad choice of card.
Really?
Do you know what? I'll give you more choice. Out of the pile left.
Yes.
It's not really. I don't know what that would even mean. If you reach and actually just pick one out for yourself, anyone at all. That's
that one.
Perfect one. I can see the card. It's okay. You can show me which one have we got. Perfect. The reason I didn't want you picking that last one is I wanted a lot of room to write on the card, like it would have been King of Diamonds. Bad card. So if you take this, if you sign it on the face.
Yeah.
Not your face. The face of the card though. If you want, knock yourself out. Sign that, that's perfect. And if you blow on it and then stick your bank details on it as well. You know what, you'd be surprised. Some people go for it, you get them late enough in the day. I will take this and I'll take the pen off you too, sir. Thank you. So we now know that there's only one card on planet Earth that looks exactly like this. And who knows, I might be able to sell it on eBay. That would be good. I'll do this slowly. I'll take this, I'll fold it in half. This is damaging cards, and my inner child who used to get a deck of cards for Christmas is crying at this, but here we go. We'll pop this inside the box. Can you see it going inside?
How many decks do you go through?
More than smokers do cigarettes. It's pretty bad. Pop that in your pocket for a little minute, hold on to your card. No, I finally managed to get a sponsorship for cards so I don't have to pay fortunes for them, but I mean, I've been through so many packs of cards. It's probably terrible for the environment. Actually, I do recycle them. Go ahead and say stop for me again, wherever you like.
Stop.
Right here? Do you want these to fall?
Yeah, let that one fall, yeah.
This time, I'll sign a card. We'll go Jack of Clubs. This is actually a bad one, but we'll just go for it. Mine's not as important. We'll sign it. just like this. And then we're going to get a good look into the camera so you can see this. Perfect. We'll give you a good look at this. You can see the signature. You have the box inside your pocket.
I do, yes.
I'm going to place this, and do you know what? I'll fold this one too as well, so we have it in half, into quarters. Let's see if we can get this to work. So I'm going to pop this. Do you know what? Let's try this. Put this inside your hand and squeeze tight on it. Tight, 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 tight. This might not work.
Okay.
I'll try my best. Really squeeze it. Squeeze my card. I want you to imagine in your head that the ink starts to change on the card and starts to look more like yours.
Okay.
And inside the box, that card starts to look a little bit more like mine.
Okay.
Okay, you can stop. I like the way you shake it as well without me even asking, just the drama. I'll not touch anything.
Okay.
Have a look at the card inside your hand.
Look at that.
What a surprise. I'll pretend I've never seen that before and be amazed myself. Oh my goodness, how did
Wow.
that happen?
I am impressed.
Have a look in your pocket.
I am impressed.
I'm glad you are, because otherwise I wouldn't have done my job. And have we got...
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Now that is impressive.
You like that one?
That is impressive.
That one's
I
not
like
in the
that
book,
one.
sadly. You gotta come ask me for that one in person.
If I could do that, I'd be impressing people at Christmas parties all around the place.
I believe
this
you're
year.
doing that already. It's all good. Just wear that jacket. You'll be top of the town.
That is brilliant. So
Thank you, man.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
What a pity you don't have anything that interests me. Your location is a mystery. Let me get my ammunition. I will make you look delicious. You're in it. We're driving over the speed limits. Your soul tastes exquisite. Let me make you look alive. Hang your head into the night. Oh boy, I think you didn't get the message. I will make you look delicious. You can run, but you can't hide when you're out in the night. And come in tight with me. Sit tight with me. Take a ride with me through the night, baby. Come in tight with me. You and I, baby. I wanna make you feel alive. Hang you out into the night. Life is hard when the peasants don't pay their part. I can heal your aching heart. See your eyes open up wide when I make you feel alive. And come in tight with me. Sit tight with me. Take a ride with me through the night, baby. Come in tight with me. You and I, baby. I wanna make you feel alive. Hang you out into the night.
shows some great advice.
It's really nice to be back in the studio working with people in the flesh rather than over on a screen. So yeah, fantastic. And we're getting ready to open for the Belfast Children's Festival on the 5th and 6th of March.
Okay, now it's pretty exciting as well because this is a big premiere, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It'll be the first, world premiere in Belfast for Morph, which is the piece that we've been working on, a lovely duet between Adam and Maeve, who are dancers for Maiden Voyage Dance Company. Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm thrilled to be over here creating this work, and I can't wait to see it.
And it must be great to be back at work after being off so long during the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm super excited about being in the theatre and having a performance with an audience and just their reactions to the piece, because it's a fun piece. So I'm just looking forward to being able to live in that experience. So, yeah.
So tell us what Morph is all about then. I see lots of suits about the place.
Yes, there are lots of suits. Basically, Morph is about change. So I always think of it as or th. And we use the or to keep changing things. And we're using suit jackets, which is quite a masculine item of clothing, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. So we actually go on a suit safari. So we become lots of different animals. And then we use the f, and we go on a fabric fantasy. And it keeps changing. And actually all that's required from the audience is a little bit of imagination, and they get to see whatever they want within the piece.
So what kind of age range is this show aimed at then?
Well, it's 3 to 6, but I actually think it's 0 to however old. I think it's a family piece that everybody can enjoy. I think you see lots of different things regardless of your age, but it's entertaining nevertheless. Well, hopefully.
And it's nice as well to introduce children of such a young age to dance at this stage as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a really playful way and something that you can do outside of the theatre, because we're using everyday objects that you could then at home play with and create little dances and go on these magical adventures and journeys of your own. Yeah.
Okay, tell us about the music as well, because Brian Irvine, he's behind that, isn't he?
He is, and it's amazing because this he's composed a special piece of music for this piece. So it's a new commission from Maiden Voyage Dance for Brian, and it's been fantastic working with him. We've had lots of conversations, so we did do lots of Zooms, but then it's really nice for him to compose on the choreography, and then I'm going back in now and knitting it together, because there are quite a lot of complex rhythms. Even though it's a children's show, it's quite challenging and rhythmic. And he's created this landscape, which is amazing, and it takes you on this wonderful adventure just listening to it. So even if you're not seeing anything, it's wonderful.
And of course, we must mention the dancers as well. You've got some fabulous performers, haven't you?
We have. We've got Adam Ashford and Maeve McGreevy, who are wonderful, wonderful, talented dancers. They are wonderful to work with. They've been a pleasure. And I think they're also really excited to get back on the stage and perform.
Okay, give us all the details. Where and when can we see this?
We can see this at the MAC. It will be the 2:30 and 4:30 on Saturday and Sunday, the 5th and 6th of March. And we can't wait for you to go on our little magical journey.
And then it tells stories like, like that I once kissed Cilla Black.
Did you?
Did you not hear that bit?
I've never. When did you kiss Cilla Black? Because I was always very jealous of people who got to know Cilla and got to meet her, because I always wanted to meet her, never did.
Well, I met her in Belfast when she was playing the Whitla Hall.
Right.
And I had been a big Cilla Black fan from her first record, not the anyone who had a heart, but the
Love
Loved
of the
Loved, which I thought was the first punk record I'd ever heard, and then I heard it recently, and it was like so tame. It was on, but I thought just spat out the words, and I love Cilla, although I do prefer Dionne Warwick's "Anyone Who Had a Heart." So I did, and I got a chance to meet Cilla, and we kissed, and she said, "Isn't he tall?" Because I was tall for my age then. And but that isn't the story. The story is I was in the BBC one day and I was doing an interview.
Yeah.
And I was talking about punk records and stuff. And then the interviewer said, "Is it true you once Cilla Black?" And I went, "Yes, I did." And I'm not ashamed of it. And I said at that time, I was a big Cilla Black fan, and Elvis Presley had Cilla on his jukebox. So there you
Yes,
are.
she was number 15 with You're My World.
But people like the wee stories that I tell. Like I was when I was 15, I was going out with this girl who lived in a big house up the Belmont Road, and they were very rich, and we were not so rich. I mean, we had a party the day that we could afford lino for our bathroom. You know, it was a big deal in our house. We had tea and buns, you know. And she said to me one day that they'd got an automan, and I was thinking, they've got a robot. And I said, "Does it do dishes? And does it do a vacuum cleaning?" He says, "No, you keep linen it." I had never heard what a automan was. You can see that relationship didn't go any further than that.
We've got another one of your songs lined up now, Lost in Space, this one.
Lost in Space, yeah.
What's the story behind this one?
Okay, so Lost in Space, again, it was written when I was in my early 20s, and I was in a band at the time in Belfast, and we had just recorded kind of half of an album, and my best mate at the time was a guy called Peter Dunphy, who's an amazing kind of film writer, film director, and you know, we're kind of just we're two, you know, as we believed, artists, you know.
Yeah.
But when we met up with each other, it was always a wild one. So I came out of the studio and I had a load of DAT tapes in my bag, and bumped into Peter just by chance on Dublin Road, and he had his film script there, and we thought, you know what, let's meet up and have a drink, and you know, we'll have a catch up, because I think we hadn't seen each other in about 6 months. So we had a pint, and a pint led to another pint, which led to another, and you know, I think 20 odd pints later, I woke up the next morning thinking, "Oh, that was a good night." And then I thought, I must get the DAT tapes because we're heading to the studio. I looked for my bag and I couldn't find my bag anywhere. I phoned Peter and I was like, "Peter, do you know where my bag is?" And he went, "I was about to phone you. Do you know where my script is?"
Right.
So somewhere in a Belfast pub, there is DAT tapes sitting there from my band, and there's a film script that Peter had been writing for about 3 years.
So you never got them back?
Never got them back. We phoned every single pub that we could possibly think of, but no one had it.
So somebody is sitting there with
Someone's
those
sitting there.
things at home somewhere,
Yeah.
probably not knowing what they are or
Exactly.
how important they are.
Exactly, and no idea, completely lost them.
Wow.
So I was kicked out of the band, obviously. And Peter's dad, who was his manager, was very, very annoyed with him.
Yeah, I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
So-
anybody watching this happens to have these lying around their house, send them in to us here at NVTV and we'll make sure Justin gets them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'd be great. It could be great to get those back, you know.
Exactly,
And so Lost in Space was written the day after that. Sat down and I just thought, yeah, you know what, we were lost in space. You know, we were lost in our own little bubble world that we had created, you know, and all our stuff was left in that bubble.
Brilliant. Right, we'll hear the song now. Justin, in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So here he is, Justin Curran with Lost in Space. So, Michael, it must be very exciting bringing this radio series back live at the Grand Opera House, and it's also going to be the first show in the Grand Opera House studio space, isn't it?
Yes, so absolutely no pressure there then, bringing back a classic radio series and opening a new theatre. So it's wonderfully exciting. The real pleasure of working on the McCooeys over the past year has been discovering just how fresh and contemporary they sound. And they're 70 years old now, but they read like they were written yesterday. They're remarkably wonderful pieces of writing.
And for people who do remember, it was a massive radio series back in the day, wasn't it?
There was nothing else like it at the time, apart from a programme on the Scottish Home Service called the McFlannels. And because of the connections between BBC Northern Ireland and BBC Scotland and change of personnel there, the idea was put to Joe Tumilty that he write something similar about a family-centred piece, an everyday family that we'd all recognise that we're all from and part of, for the Home Service in Northern Ireland. And that started in 1949, became a huge, almost instant hit, and lasted until 1955.
How long have you guys been together now? Scare me, make me feel old.
We're going to make you feel old. I used to be a solicitor, a full-time job. I gave it up in April 1996. Give My Head Peace. There was the pilot episode of Two Ceasefires and a Wedding was 1995. The first TV series was 1998. So this is year 24 of Give My Head Peace.
Wow, and the characters are still loved today, and of course you must be picking up new fans along the way as well.
Well, we are. I mean, it's kind of remarkable. I mean, we're you know, I'm not lying to you. I'm in my mid-50s. I mean, mid-50s is mid to late 50s, but we still attract a huge audience. I think there's such affection for those characters, and we touch very lucky with them, you know. But the audiences, they just connect with an audience. And we've just finished a couple of we did a TV series there over Christmas and New Year, 4 more episodes, and the ratings are still huge. And the thing we love about it is our audience is very diverse. It's across Northern Ireland. It's young and old. It's east of the Bann. It's west of the Bann. It's male, female. I don't know what we're doing something right, and you know, long may it last.
And I loved it when you did the TV series and you got to go into the studio to watch it being recorded live, and you could actually see all the iconic venues that you know, like a Mandas, a Flat, and things like that.
Yeah, in the studio we would perform it like a play. So we have Uncle Andy's house in the 47A Divis Tower in the same set. For the last couple of years, of course, because of COVID, we filmed them in a big, cold, empty warehouse just outside Carrickfergus, which wasn't quite the same because you missed the audience reaction.
Yeah.
And our cameraman literally had a 2-meter stick, so every single scene was, I had to stand there, Ma had to stand over there. But we got away because I think it was important to keep going through the pandemic and to keep providing people with as much humour as possible during those bad times. But we're really, hopefully, touch wood, we'll get back into the studio and get the live audiences, because it affects your performance. I mean, what we need is you know, comedy needs an instant reaction. And it's an instant reaction, and it's an involuntary reaction. If it goes well, you get a great buzz off the audience. So we're hoping to get back into the studio if we're back later in the year.
And I remember how that felt, because I was actually in one of the episodes, and right now appearing on your TV screen is a little photograph of myself and Paul Martin.
Oh, that's right.
In your flat.
Were you the journalist?
I was the journalist.
You were one of the journalists.
When you thought you were being bugged by MI5.
That's right. We found a bug behind the sofa and blamed MI5. I think it was a birthday card or something, wasn't it? Yeah, Dan and Cal were making buck idiots of themselves as usual in front of the world's press. Yeah. I presume this has set you on your career in showbiz.
That's what it was. It all started in your flat.
It is the highlight of your career so far, let's be honest.
So there we go, that's Brian's new music from Rob Murphy. That's called My Joy, and I'm pleased to say the man himself joins us in the studio. How are you?
Very good, Roman. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Stuff.
So good to hear some new music from you. It must be great getting back out and doing what you love after the past 2 years.
Yes, certainly. It's been good to have a bit of time, or a bit of forced time, to be creative and stay in and find new ways to create with people, but it's certainly good to be able to get new music out there and to get out and meeting people again, and interviews like with yourself. So it's just great to be getting back to the normal, if that's possible.
So tell us about the track then, My Joy. What's the story behind that then?
So yeah, My Joy it's been written quite a while ago, and it's went through various transitions and instrumentations, but it's basically a love song about how love grows from the beginnings, and staying together through thick and thin, and coming out the other side and growing old together, and sort of putting that vision forward that's how things should be, really. And of course, along the way, you get a lot of situations that come up, individual life situations, but if you work through them together as a team, ups and downs, come out the other side.
And it seemed like a big production as well, because you've even got members of the Ulster Orchestra on this, haven't you?
Yes, that came about during lockdown. I've worked with them for many years now. They were on a couple of last tracks which you've featured. So we were able to, with help of the Arts Council, get some recordings down in between the lockdowns. So we've got Danny McCann Williams, who arranged the strings for a couple of the tracks on the album, and Shan Heatherton, who also played the cello. So it's great to have them both involved, and it certainly ups the production value. It's been, like I say, it's been kicking around for a while. It's been quite a timid acoustic song, and I really felt there could be something else there to lift it a little. And I remember Danny hearing the song quite a while ago, and he said he would love to have a go at arranging some strings. So he did that over lockdown, all sent over to me via Zoom or whatever it was, and I managed to, like I say, record them in a break in lockdown, and then mix everything at home, and it came together quite well.
Now, recently we lost the musical theatre genius, Stephen Sondheim, who was responsible for so many great shows down through the years, including Into the Woods, and a new production from Northern Ireland Opera is about to open at the Lyric Theatre here in Belfast. Let's find out all about it, because Ruby Campbell and Rory McCollum join us now on the line. Guys, welcome to the show. So for any performer, doing a Stephen Sondheim show must be a dream come true.
It absolutely is. It's a bit of a cliche in the industry, but people often refer to Sondheim as the Shakespeare of musical theatre, just in terms of the profound nature of his work, and the depth of his lyrics, and the genius of his music, all coming together. It creates a really complex, layered experience for audiences that is also super relatable. It's not like... for some audiences, they might be a bit intimidated by going to see a Shakespeare, for example. But with Sondheim, musical theatre is just that wee bit more relatable. The stories are very human, very fun, but also with great intelligence and wit and depth.
So what are plans for the future then? Are you continuing with the teaching?
I am.
Yeah.
I have taught full-time this whole year, being Miss Northern Ireland.
Wow.
5 days a week, travelling to Cookstown from Lisburn every day. So it's been very busy, it's been hectic, but
and you're still smiling.
I'm still smiling, yes. I know, funny, I went to the dentist the other day and I managed to lock my jaw, and he said to me, and he says, maybe just try not to open your mouth as wide. And I said, it's very hard when you're doing all this smiling all the time, because I said, I'm constantly smiling, do you know that? But it's been such a great experience. I've loved it, and my job is so important to me. That's my biggest passion, is, to look out for those children who are suffering from mental health.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing across many schools in Northern Ireland at the moment. Do you see, when I went back to school after the lockdown, not even myself, but many teachers saw the impact that it has had on our young people. And I think that is why a lot of schools now are reaching out to a lot of mental health charities in Northern Ireland. We have Aware NI working in our school now doing a lot of mindfulness programs with our older children in Key Stage 2 and hopefully now with our younger kids, because a lot of people wouldn't think that kids as young as 4 and 5 have, you know,
yeah, exactly,
poor mental
yes,
health.
yeah.
But actually that is a big thing. I've had so many kids this year coming into school with, you know, separation anxiety, you know, with their mum. They don't want to leave their mum behind when they're coming into school. And still, to this point in the year, in April, you know, there's still children, they haven't got over that, that separation anxiety. And it's really, it's horrendous to see, and I think we really need to be doing so much more for our children's mental health in schools. So Aware and I have been amazing. I'm now hopefully going to get to do a mindfulness course over the course of 6 weeks at the end of this month, which I'm really, really excited about, just to, for me, just to even develop my own knowledge and understanding of it, and, you know, to be able to find out different, I mean, already I know various coping mechanisms to help our children overcome those barriers, but, you know, you can never stop learning.
Exactly.
You know, you never stop learning, so I just want to get in there and I just want to learn so much more about it. And Aware and I has been brilliant for that, I have to say. So yeah, no, I'm still going to carry on teaching. Maybe might go down part-time in September.
Okay.
Just because I think with Miss World now there is hopefully an opportunity for me to travel with the Miss World team and do maybe a bit of humanitarian work with Miss World herself and the other continental queens. So yeah, I'm thinking that's just in the pipeline. Hopefully, maybe go down to part-time. It would give me just a wee bit more flexibility. I think I can always go back to teaching, and I love teaching. But I think this opportunity only comes around very, very seldomly. You know, it means not every day that you can sit here and wear a Miss World Europe sash.
Exactly,
you know, so I think now is the time for me to do that. And as I say, I can always go back to full-time teaching when I want to.
Would you like to do some TV? Because on your first TV debut today, you've been good.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Yes, well, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. Could give you a run for your money, Robin.
Let's hope so. Anna, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you very
so
much, Robin, for
coming
having
in.
me.
And enjoy the rest of your run as Miss Northern Ireland.
I will. Thank you very much for having me, Robin.
You've got a song on here that I love, Why Worry, the Mark Knopfler song. But
Yeah.
you've done a duet with Elaine Page.
Elaine, yeah. Elaine and I worked together for the very first time in 2014. And another positive out of the pandemic, or lockdowns, was we've been years trying to kind of land in each other's kind of zones that we can do a duet together. And we discussed a duet in 2014, 2016, and both of us were all in different directions. And when I rang her about doing the new duet, on the new album rather, and I said, before you say no, that you're busy, I know you're not because you're in lockdown, so you can do it. So we actually did it, and finally got to sing a song together.
So it's as easy as that. You just phone up Elaine Page and say, let's do this.
Elaine and I have been friends for many years.
Yeah.
So, a lovely woman, lovely person, and just lovely to work with. And an icon. A complete
course.
icon,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And, you know, so at least, you know, it was funny. My best friend said, did you do a duet with Elaine Page? And I said, yeah, why? And he said, do you know her so well?
Brilliant.
I thought,
Brilliant.
Yeah, cliche. You know,
so apart from Elaine Page then, who else is in your phone book? What other big stars have you got in your stored in your phone there?
Who's in my phone book? Vince Gill.
Wow.
Josh Groban.
Wow.
Yeah,
there's only a few people like that. I never look at it like that, though, Robin.
I know.
I never look at it like that. We all do a job. We all do a job that I hope we do well. It may be different, but sometimes you just have to look at it as your job and do it to the best of your ability. And if that means getting into somebody else's radar, then so be it. And, you know, it's funny, people have rang me up actually looking for Vince Gill's number, and that's not going to happen. That'd be like somebody looking for mine and somebody gave it out without thinking. But I've worked with some great people over the years, like Kenny Rogers I worked with in 2013 or 14, I think. And I did a tour in the UK with him. And that's, when I look back on that, that's been a great time. And he was a lovely, lovely man. Just a great man to work with. Very down to earth, very normal. And they, you know, they're
If you expect a country music megastar like that would travel with a huge entourage and be very
difficult. He didn't have a huge entourage,
and
actually. There was only about, between the band crew and the people that worked with him behind stage, there was about 10, 12 of them in it. When they asked us to do the tour with them, I was like, well, I'll have to cut back. And so he gave me some of his crew. So there wasn't two big crews coming together and two people doing one job, if you know what I mean. So that kind of worked really in our favour. And we did a tour of the UK, and it was great. I came on and did the Three Arena with him in Dublin.
Wow.
And it was strange to bring me on that tour because I'm not country
No,
at
exactly.
all.
Yeah.
But he was a fan of mine, which was great to hear. And every night I came on stage, I used to do the first hour and he would do the second. And he came on stage, he would stand at the side of the stage and watch the show for my part of the show every night. Now I did the same because I wanted to anyway.
Yes, yeah.
And it was a lovely thing to see.
Now, tell me about Christy Hennessy as well, because I was good friends with Christy over the years.
Christy was one of the nicest, smiliest, non-offensive people I've ever known. He had that way with him that when he walked into a room, if you were in a bad mood, you were in a good mood in 5 minutes. He was just so down to earth.
He was, and he couldn't read or write, but yet he did these amazing songs, didn't he?
And how he wrote the songs, like "Roll Back the Clouds," to me is a
favorite,
classic. Yeah. And I remember when I sang it for the first time in Galway Cathedral, it brought a tear to my eye because that song that he wrote told all our stories. It told every musician, every actor, every singer, every dancer, every artist, every athlete that has tried to use their gift or their talent as a career and on that ladder up or on the steps up to making that.
And when you were watching him perform that song on stage, when he got to the bit where he does "I'm Gonna Be a Star," you wanted to jump up off your seat at that moment and do it with him, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And every time I sing that live now, and I hope I do it justice, because every time I sing it live, when I get to that last note, "I am a star," the audience erupts. And it's not for the song. It's for they've gone into the story with you.
Yes, exactly.
They've gone into it. And it's one of those songs that the very end of the song goes, "Is me a star? Is me a star?" And when I'm singing it, I always go kind of go, "Is me a star?" And then the audience get that.
Yeah.
And they really come with you on it. It's just, it's a genius of a song.
Well, I always remember the first time you came into the studio, you performed that song in this studio.
I did. Actually.
I have it in the archives. Yeah. Here it comes.
I've been sitting here so long for you to hear my song, and all you want to know is, am I on the radio? Who's the biggest star I've seen, and what's my favorite scene? And if I get the job, would I sing on Mars? Yes, sir, I would sing on Mars. I play upon a star. I'd sing songs of the sun. And when my job was done, I would say I love you so. I'd like to sing one more, just for all young lovers for the road. Tell me, sir, yeah, just how far I need to go to be a star. I have known my highs and lows. I've worked on every show. I've played in every town and brought some houses down, but critics never notice me. I'm not a star, you see, and yet I give my heart to every part. I would stand for hours and hours. I've walked through some showers with my dancing shoes and my dreams and views. I'd walk upon an empty stage with one light on my face, to be told, don't phone us, but we'll phone you. Tell me, sir, yeah, just how far I need to go to be a star, to be a star. Every day the same old scene, the same old happenings, 100 miles of shores, and yet no place to go. But when your luck is all run out, you're asked to take a bow. You've just stolen the shore, but now you're on your own. Yes, sir, I would sing on Mars. My dream scene is me a star, me a star, me a star. I am a star.
I want to come back to the Queen now because you've met her. You had her in the UTV studios.
That was one of the main highlights of the career. We came in one day, we were told a special guest would be arriving. I was then taken aside by the boss and I was told that the special guest would be entertained by myself in the studio. And you could tell probably from the presence of the airport type security that the special guest was A-lister. And the Queen arrived, along with one of the ladies from Buckingham Palace, who then took me aside and said, Mr. Mitchell, you will be liaising with Her Majesty the Queen. There are 2 rules. You do not touch Her Majesty and you do not instruct Her Majesty. And I had no intention of either touching or instructing her, but we were in the studio. And William, who was directing, said to me, make sure she looks into the lens of the camera. So I'm standing looking into the lens, but the Queen comes up to me and she's asking me all about the weather maps, but she's standing with her back to the camera. And William says, in as conversational a way as he can, into my ear, because this has been taken by BBC, by Sky, by numerous news outlets around the world, get her to turn round, can you get her to turn? And I was thinking, I'm not allowed to touch her, I'm not allowed to instruct her. So I said, Your Majesty, for me to get my best view, I always look right into that camera. And she turned round and William says, got her! And that was the shot that was used literally all over the world.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, then 2 days later, we were in Hello magazine, and the president of Chile, who'd just been associated with the rescue of the miners at that time that were lost in Chile, and me. Yeah. A 2-page spread in Hello magazine. And it was that day I thought to myself, yeah, that's a breakthrough, and that's a breakthrough in the career. And then sometime later, my phone started to ring and ring. This was a number of weeks later, ring and ring and ring when I was driving. Couldn't answer it, and all these missed calls. And I pulled in to get all these messages to say, "You're on. Have I got news for you?" Where they had shown a shot of the very same spot and used the gag about the Queen is now at weather school and she's auditioning for a new job with ITV. So, I got a good turn out of it.
Oh, brilliant! So we're here in the auditorium. The seats have changed, they're lovely, nice, comfy chairs as well. But one of the things that hasn't changed, we've done a great job in the restoration, is keeping all the original artwork and all the amazing stuff on the ceilings that every time you look up, you notice something different.
It was really important that we didn't want to deviate from Frank Matcham's design, because when you look at the inside of the auditorium, it is perfect. He was an extremely clever designer. Most of us on an Oriental theme, of course, in Belfast. They were all different. Very sadly, he worked on over 100 projects during his lifetime. There are only 21 theatres of his that exist. I personally feel that he's given us his most iconic building, I would say that, but I'm biased. But when you look around and see all of that beautiful decoration, the original paintings in the ceiling, 4 of them, are from 1895. Likewise, the painting above the proscenium arch is from 1895. We have all, of course, those elephants' heads, which are very famous. We have 12 of those. They were all restored, and there are stories of, in the past, early on in the theatre's history, that when people didn't like whoever was on stage, they used to break off the tusks and throw it on stage. That doesn't happen any longer, thankfully. But we had to repair all of that because 125 years, millions of people through the auditorium during that time, that did require a lot of work. All of that beautiful decoration on the front balconies was all painstakingly restored. And the ceiling itself took 4 months. We had to build up scaffolding in the auditorium to allow the restorers, who were specialists obviously, to restore that fabulous ceiling.
Of course, I mean, there's still a great music scene here in Belfast at the moment. And, you know, when you think about it, there really has been for the past 30 years. We have had a lot of great bands come out of Belfast, haven't we?
We have. I mean, there always seems to be a constant flow of creativity. I think that there's a dedication to songwriting, you know, doesn't stop. There's always new acts coming up. You look at some of the really successful acts, you know, Snow Patrol, etc. Brilliant. Yeah. And I think that that's not going to stop. You know, there's just this creative kind of vibe in the city that won't go away.
So let's move on. Let's talk about you for a little while as well, because when you started your career, you went off and did the West End musicals, didn't you?
I did, Robin. As a child, all I ever wanted to do was sing, act, and dance, and I took it so seriously. And back then, there was very little here in Northern Ireland, but I worked with the Ulster Theatre Company and Michael Poyner, and from there, he helped me to audition for all the drama schools. I went to drama school, and then I went on to the Royal Academy of Music in London, and I was very lucky. I did quite a number of shows. I worked with Trevor Nunn at the National Theatre. I also worked with the wonderful performer and director that is Julia Mackenzie. Unfortunately, my career stopped short because I became really ill with severe depression, and that's why I came home and I focused on teaching other people to help get students out there and to achieve their dreams. And I've been doing that now since I came home in 2004.
Well, let's talk about the West End stage then. You mentioned Julia Mackenzie. You're in a production which actually went on to win an Olivier Award.
I did. I was in Honk the Musical, and that was on the Olivier stage at the Royal National Theatre in London. And working with Julia Mackenzie was incredible because I watched her as a child myself, with her performing on every West End stage there was, and it was just an honour to work with someone like her.
Okay, so we've just come off stage after presenting a big award to Ireland's Queen of Country, the one and only Philomena Begley. How are you, my darling?
How are you doing? And it's brilliant to see you.
It's great to see you. It's been too long. COVID's just put a stop to everything, hasn't it?
Oh, it certainly did. Now, it took its toll on us all.
So you won the big award tonight. What does it mean to you to keep winning these fabulous awards?
When you get to my age and when you get to do 60 years in the business, you couldn't make. It's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, it really is. And you know, it gives you a wee bit of a lift too, you know.
So what is it attracts you to the part of Anita then?
She is fearless. She's absolutely fearless. There's a real journey for her. You can see that she has quite a fiery relationship with her partner. She's very protective. She's very ambitious. She knows what she wants. And then once you hit the second half, everything happens to her. Yeah. And you can just see her break, which I love. Yeah. The sadist in me loves it. You know, it's gut wrenching. You know, you come out of it with a broken heart, which you should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's bring Matthew in. You're playing the part of Tony. Is this a dream role for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of any tenor. It's a dream role for any kind of young actor that wants to play Tony. There's so many people that I've kind of talked to, like fellow singer-actor friends, that are all sort of like, you're playing the part that we all want to play. You know, everybody, like, it's such a great part, and you go on, you know, such a great journey with it. You know, like Karen was saying with Anita, you go on a similar kind of real journey of self-discovery. And the music in it, I mean, it's just so, the stuff that you have to sing is so varied. You know, you can do so much with it. You've just kind of been left this amazing kind of canvas to sort of paint on. It's great. Really love it.
Well, I've got a photograph appearing on the screen now of a man who we both knew very well, who was always a pleasure to meet, always a pleasure to interview, because he had so many great stories. That is the late, great Henry McCulloch.
Henry, you know, we probably took him for granted when he was with us, and he was always very obliging. We always had bits of chat with him. And again, this was the TV documentary I was doing, So Hard to Beat. And we were invited up to his place in his Ballywindland Road in Ballymoney. He called it Ballywonderland.
Yes, yeah.
And it wasn't really a cottage, but it sort of looked like a cottage. And then Josie kept chickens out the back, and he's had a rock and roll life, and you know, the Joe Cocker years and the Paul McCartney years, and we sat for about 3 hours, and he told us all his best stories. And then we all calmed down, and he had a pot-bellied stove around the back of the house, and we all sat out, and the stove was crackling, and he was playing the current Paul McCartney album just after Linda had passed away, and we all just sat in the quiet and reflected on life.
Wow.
And I didn't take a lot of pictures while I was at that era. I was a wee bit shy, but every now and again you go and you'd take a snap. And with great fortune, I got a picture of Henry, and you can just see a man who has seen everything, good and bad.
That's what I love about this photograph. It's the way that I'll always remember Henry in that photograph, because you can see his face just says rock and roll, doesn't it?
He has looked into the abyss, and he has looked out of it again, and somehow, by good fortune and you know, trying my best at the time, I got a picture that stands the test of time, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah. Well, they can see that photograph on your exhibition, which runs in Newtownards from the 7th until 28th of April, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows the songs from Sweet Charity, Big Spender, Rhythm of Life, If My Friends Could See Me Now, but an awful lot of people haven't seen the show. I keep telling people it's the best show you've never seen.
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
It really is. So what's it all about then?
Well, it's got a script by Neil Simon, who's a terrific writer, one of the greatest writers in American theatre. It's about a girl called Charity, and she's looking for love. And so we follow her on her journey looking for love. And unlike a lot of love stories, it doesn't have the traditional boy meets girl trajectory. What we find is she falls in and out of love with different men, and she keeps being unlucky in love. And so we're really rooting for her at the end that she'll find a guy and will fall in love. And we have to wait and see if it's going to actually happen for her this time.
But there is a little dark bit to it as well, isn't there?
There is. I mean, with a lot of Neil Simon's work, it's set in New York in the 1960s, mid-60s. These girls are not the classic girls that you would find in a musical. They are fandango dancers. They work in the Fandango nightclub, and they dance with men for money. Yeah. And so it's set in the sort of the seedier side of New York life. And so they all have dreams and they all have aspirations to get out of this life and to have what we would consider to be a normal life, to have a husband and children and to live in a nice home. And that's what their big aspiration is. But it's very difficult for girls from that background to aspire to that at that time. And so we're sort of really rooting for Charity and for all the girls in the Fandango to find their dream, to get out.
Now, coming up on the show this evening, we are talking crime novels, and in particular, a new series set right here in Belfast. Philip Jordan is the man behind them, and he joins me now in the studio. Philip, how are you, sir?
Very well, thanks for having me, Robin.
Thank you for joining us. So these books, this new series of stories, these were all written during the pandemic, weren't they?
They were indeed, yeah. It had, I was fortunate enough to be furloughed from work during the time, and I've always been a big reader, and it's just something that you've always had in the back of my mind. Is this something I could do? Could I turn my hand from reading to writing? I've been writing throughout my life, but work and life gets in the way, and this was a nice big chunk of time where I could just finally bite the bullet and sit down and pour the words out.
But it is a pretty big thing then to try to get your work published, isn't it?
It's traditionally, yes. I think the times that we live in and technology and the way things are now, I've went down the road of self-publishing. So whilst you retain the freedom of what you want and how you want to do it and get it out there quickly, you lose that element of the big traditional publisher and the marketing and the $1 million budget. So certainly it's worked for me, and yeah, it's getting readers to find your book amid the 7 million books on Amazon.
Okay, our next guest on The Christmas Show has been an actor, he's been a theatre producer, and now, because of the pandemic, he's turned into a hugely successful candle maker. Joe Ray joins us. Joe, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Robin. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining us. Now, we had Pam on the show a few minutes ago, and as I just discovered, you were a massive fan of the classic days of EastEnders, as I was as well.
Absolutely loved it, and still my favourite line is when Roy, after all the betrayal that happened in EastEnders, says to her, "I hate your earrings." Still brilliant. The best put-down line ever, but you can't beat it.
Let's not talk about EastEnders anymore, because you've had an interesting time, haven't you?
I have, like everybody. I had a career that I'd worked in all my life, doing theatre, first as an actor and then as a producer. And like everybody, March 2020, everything changed. So out of work, out of job, nothing to do, all the theatres closed, and didn't know what to do next. And all of a sudden, me and Lynn, my wife, having a glass of wine, brainstormed, and the idea came up, why don't you make candles?
Right.
So I started to make a few, and they were great. And then I spent the rest of the first lockdown developing this range of candles, and I've now got 30 of them.
But how do you do this? I mean, a complete change of career. Did you have to go to candle school, or did you simply go on YouTube and just learn?
YouTube and books are a wonderful thing. And it's not, it isn't rocket science in terms of you get a jar, you put in wax and fragrance oil and blah, but there is a knack to it, there is a bit of an art to it, and it takes a while to get them burning right. And an awful lot of money to invest. And because I had a lot of time, everybody, I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't doing anything, I literally used every day creating these, and I burnt hundreds and hundreds and hundreds just to get it right.
Can't see the eye of the storm, falling fast, it won't take long. Down in the snake pit, the lights have gone out. No one to warn you, there's no way out. Well, how you ever gonna get out? How you ever gonna get out? You're on the highway to the lost and found, shifting gears to another town, making plans and no one's around. You're on the highway to the lost and found. Well, how you ever gonna get turned around? Standing here, but the rain don't sound. You're on the highway to the lost and found. You're on the highway to the lost and found, yeah.
Loads more coming up as well, including our first guest who's back out on the road with a show called Rock and Roll Years and Dancehall Days. It's the one and only George Jones. How are you, sir?
Balding pate, slightly. Lost hair since the last time we spoke. But here we are again, Robin. I mean, it's incredible to think it's a 2-year vacuum since we actually performed the show.
So for people who haven't seen this before, what can they expect then?
It all started really with a concert idea about maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. I said, you know, what is missing is a little look back to some of the great years of music, the 50s and 60s, which a lot of people go, what? Poo-poo? Oh no. But there's a lot of people who also say, oh yes, please. You know, 8 years ago we started a concert just as depicting great stars of those particular years. And what we did was, in the band, Club Sound was the basis of it, with 4 singers. So primarily the stage is set with a coffee bar on one side and an agent's office on the other. I play Harmy the agent, good boy, good Jewish lad, and who spots all these stars. And I play an English one and an American one. Sometimes I get mixed up. Discovering the stars in Britain and the stars in America. Telling the original names, how they come into an office looking for work. I build them up and make them stars. There's about 40 songs in the show, and we encapsulate everything from way back to Neil Sedaka, you know, even further back, Guy Mitchell, Wanda Jackson, and early Elvis is depicted at the start because he becomes the other Elvis at the end.
Yes, yeah.
So we're trying to make it like a journey, you know, through those wonderful years. Cliff Richard, the Beatles, we do the 4 Seasons. The Shadows bring the house down. You see, what I've always said in the years that I was on radio for 30 odd years, I used to say that songs are like calendars. The minute you play a song, 9 times out of 10 people, they associate it with where they were, what they were doing, and it immediately picks a picture, paints a picture.
Yes, yeah.
does the music of that do it nowadays?
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
You know,
done a lot since the last time we chatted, including the track that we just saw there, The Cornerstone.
Yeah.
Tell us the story behind that.
The Cornerstone, Killalay is my hometown. You have the beautiful Strangford Lough, you've got the castle on the hill, beautiful place. But the Cornerstone, you would miss it if you weren't looking for it. It's a stone on the corner of the Central Bar in Killalay, and it's been there for hundreds of years. And it was just stuck in my head that this was a landmark. This was the landmark of Killalay, because all the people would stand there through the day. The people still stand there this morning when I'm round the town, you know, and all the old guys would stand there and suppose talk about the horse that let them down the day before, and lots of guys stood there waiting for the bar to open. And I remember a lot of the old characters from the 70s and been told stories about some of the characters that were before my time. And I thought I would come at it from the angle of people who were the life and soul of a party, but needed. They were addicted. They were addicts. They were alcoholics. They had traumas. They had pain, but never showed it, and never complained. And I thought it would be nice to dedicate a song to them, so that they're not forgotten and so that they are remembered, because they were great characters, and some of them I remember when I was just starting to go to bars and things like that. Some of these characters were in the bar, and you could have sat and listened and laughed all evening, you know. And I think it's what makes a bar is the characters. Recently I met Tommy Sands, and we talked a lot about it, and Tommy told me, he says, it's people that make places, it's not buildings, and you know, it's people that make places. So the stone is used to talk about the people, you know, and really it's about the people. It's the stone's there to give me the platform to talk about the people.
So you mentioned the people with addictions.
Yeah.
It's something that you yourself have battled with over the years.
Yeah.
With alcohol addiction, haven't you?
Yeah, alcohol addiction, which was leading to drugs, but I'm nearly 6 years sober and feel great, and down to me and my family and hard work and dedicating myself and my family, dedicating themselves to me, and it works when every cog in the machine is turning the way it should be turning. And once those cogs don't, maybe one cog's not turning just as well tomorrow or today, and the rest of us are there for each other, you know.
So when was it, at what point was it that you realised that you had a serious issue here that you needed to face head on?
Mm-hmm. I realised a long time ago, probably 2007, I was no longer in denial of it. I tried a few times to get off the drink, couldn't get off the drink. 3 months at a time, 4 months at a time, but always went back. And then there's a part of it after the denial where you sort of try to accept that you're going to have to live like this. But it wasn't until my daughter, we realised she had a problem. She was about 11, 12-year-old. So Jodie's illness with voices in her head, depression, social anxiety, was produced in front of me, where I was really at my lowest ebb. So it was either sink or swim. So I had to be there for her. I had to be there, and inadvertently, I believe her illness was sent, and it turned me around and saved me. And now we've saved each other because we trust each other 100%. You know, and my wife, who was there through it all, Trixie doesn't ever say much, which she does when she needs to, but it's just, I know what unconditional feels like, you know, and taught me to be unconditional, to make the cogs turn in our little circle the way they should be, and be there for each other.